Waiting. Thank you guys for your patience. Sludge.
amazing questions ready for me to collect. Thank you so much. Any other
You good?
questions?
Miriam know that we're not allowed to hear. She's just going next.
I'll tell them. I'll just say, in terms of presentation of the colors, and afterwards we'll have the national, U.S. national anthem, international anthem by Jeffrey Hippolyte,
Okay.
and then I can just say that.
Yes. So you indicated that I would get the questions from the cards to hand out to the library? Okay. So where should I need somewhere that where I'm strategically located so that it won't create it won't look bad, so I can hand them over to her. Yeah. Just sit right here. Yeah. At what point do you want me to hand them over to her?
That's towards the end, the question
Towards
and
the
answers.
end?
Yeah, that's question and answers.
I didn't get it.
Yes.
Let me take a picture of it. Let me take a picture of it. And the ambassador is going to be. Okay. And when the ambassador gives his speech, can he disclose him and give his speech? He's going to give an introduction.
This is what's going to be. Yeah, that's what that's for.
And then during the Q&A, he's just going to.
Okay, everyone please ride for the presentation of colors by the Houston Haitian Bethany SDA Church Pathfinder Club.
ce manque de fidélité à la Bible. Je promets fidélité à la Bible.
Je promets fidélité à la Bible.
Et à l'évangile qu'elle enferme.
Et à l'évangile qu'elle enferme.
Un sauveur crucifié.
Un sauveur crucifié.
Ressuscité.
Ressuscité.
Et qui revient bientôt.
Et qui revient bientôt.
Portant la vie.
Portant la vie.
Et la liberté.
Et la liberté.
À ceux qui croient.
À ceux qui croient.
Livre sacré, lumière étincelante, qui est la nuit, perce l'obscurité, tous Je promets fidélité au drapeau chrétien.
Je promets fidélité au drapeau chrétien.
Et au sauveur.
Et au sauveur.
Dont il représente le royaume.
Dont il représente le royaume.
Qui unit.
Qui unit.
Fraternellement.
Fraternellement.
L'humanité et l'amour.
L'humanité et l'amour.
Des beaux soldats du Christ, le Maître nous appelle, marchons, marchons glorieux. Que dans nos rangs, l'Esprit Saint nous fait, le feu sacré
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Je promets fidélité au drapeau national.
Je promets fidélité au drapeau national.
Qui représente un pays où je puis adorer Dieu en toute liberté et justice. Pour le salut. Seigneur, accorde ton secours au beau pays que mon cœur aime, celui que j'aimerai toujours, celui que j'aimerai quand même. Tu m'as dit d'aimer et j'obéis, mon Dieu protège mon pays.
Pour le pays, pour les ancêtres, marchons unis, marchons unis, dans nos rangs, point de traite du sort, soyons seuls maîtres, marchons unis, marchons unis pour le pays, pour les ancêtres. Marchons, marchons, marchons unis pour le pays, pour les ancêtres, pour le pays, pour les ancêtres. Marchons unis, marchons unis, dans nos rangs, point de traite du sol, soyons seuls maîtres, marchons unis, marchons unis pour le pays, pour les ancêtres. Marchons, marchons, marchons unis pour le pays, pour les ancêtres.
Everyone may be seated.
This was such a beautiful representation of who we are as a community, as a country, as a nation. Thank you to the presenters, the performers, the singers, the artists. You guys look great, made us look great. Welcome to Stages. Thank you for hosting us here and having us. We have the pleasure here in Houston, Texas, to have before us His Excellency Ambassador Brochit Edmond. Also amongst the crowd, we have Mr. Stéphane Gilles, which is the General Counsel, Mr. Wilgens Etienne, Embassy Administrator, Mr. Nicolas Mariade Paul, who's a counselor, Miss Joanna LeBlanc, Senior Advisor to the Ambassador, Mrs. Tajana B. Chevry, Executive Assistant to the Ambassador, Miss Maritza Pierre, Special Assistant to the Ambassador, and for the HHU, Houston Haitians United staff and team, we have Monsieur Jean-Michel Celestin. We have also James Pierre, who's the chair of the board. Mr. Celestin is also a board of director. Myself, who is Sledge Leonidas, I am a board of director as well. I serve as vice chair of the organization. Our executive team, who has done such a great job of putting this together here today. So thank you all for the time that you have put in the efforts. Wonderful representation of who we are as an organization, as a Houston Haitian United community. We have Shirley Leno, who's the president, Blondine Narcisse, the vice president, Rolanda Charles, who's our secretary. We also had Alexandra Okoli, who is part of our legal team, who had to leave here shortly, who already left, but she graced us with her presence. And we have with stages Candice and Demeza, hopefully I said that right, who is the playwright. She has a presentation that will happen after this special occasion here today. We are here to answer questions from the ambassador, and thank you for the crowd that has come in attendance. Those who wrote some questions, hopefully we can get those answered and cleared up for you all. Thank you for taking the time to getting dressed and coming out and being amongst us. I also want to say a special thank you to the caterers who fed us prior to this. I would have came back for a second plate, but I had to come and speak before you all. I didn't want my button to pop out. But nonetheless, beautiful venue. Welcome to Houston, Texas. Haitians have been in Houston, started arriving since the 70s. I would be speaking Creole right now, but we have an American audience that needs to understand what we're saying as well. So for them, we'll keep this in English for now. So we've been arriving here in Houston since the 70s. We have approximately 7 to 8 churches here from different sides of town. And so you would imagine if there was a need for 7 to 8 churches, there's a population that is thriving here. The organization Houston Haitians United was created so that we can fill a void that was missing within the city, and that is to be a hub, to be able to represent our nation, help our brothers and sisters that were in need, and be a source of information to the community. So we filled that void about 6 years ago, and here we are still standing and welcoming the government of our country here in Houston, Texas. So I will not be long-winded, but I wanted to say thank you all for this time, and we're looking forward to great information that will come out of this.
Thank you, Sledge. And he kind of touched a little bit about the history, so I'm going to share with you guys the history of Houston Haitians United. In the fall, again, I'm sorry, my name is Blondine Narcisse, the Vice President, and I'm going to read to you the history. In the fall of 2015, 3 gentlemen by the name of Sledge Leonidas, Jean-Michel Celestin, and James Pierre came together to organize and establish proper representation of the rapidly growing Haitian community in Houston, Texas. These gentlemen recognized the ever-growing gap amongst people of Haitian descent, elderly Haitians, youth Haitians, the Haitian churches, Haitian businesses, and the distance between fellow Caribbean islands here in the city. Celestin was the former chair of La Nouvelle Generation Haitian Community of Houston. He continued to lead the efforts to celebrate Haitian Flag Day with the support of many local compatriots. Later, Leonidas and Celestin, members of the musical duo La Famille Royale, continued to host Haitian Flag Day events as well as other social events which included performances geared towards the celebration and promotion of the Haitian culture. As the population of Haitians in Houston grew, they realized the need of a more unified voices and representation to help strengthen the community. They first met at a Starbucks near the Galleria, and many people responded to the call to unite and strengthen our community. Simultaneously, Pierre, a degreed accountant, had aspirations of establishing Young Adult Haitians United for working professionals in the city. Together, Celestin, Leonidas, and Pierre agreed to have a joint meeting at the Caribbean Fingers, a Haitian American restaurant in Katy, Texas. The turnout was exceptional, and series of other planned meetings took place so that everyone could voice their opinions and concerns on the current state of our community. The great sense of pride and togetherness became the fuel needed to accomplish great things for our people in this community. In every movement, timing is everything, and these sets of meetings ignited this movement right here. On September 14th, 2015, at the office of the HHU Legal Counsel Marc Pierre Louis, Houston Haitians United was named and formed. It was created out of the strong desire of unify of all Haitians in the greater Houston area and committed to keeping strong ties to our beloved island of Haiti. So, with the Heavenly Father's blessings and the courage and strength, our journey to fulfilling our mission statement had begun. At this time, I would like everyone who has one of these, wave them, and we are going to read the mission statement together on the count of 3, okay? So we are going to read the mission statement on the count of 3. And we can all stand for this part because this is what got us here. Please stand as we read the mission statement. Guys ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Houston Haitians United is purposed to promoting and uplifting Haitians and our culture by means of creating and providing resources for the well-being and advancement of Haitians everywhere, highlighting Haitian culture through events, providing an avenue to which Haitians, Haitian businesses, and Haitian organizations can network. Because of you guys, we are here today. Thank you. Well, thanks, guys.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Nom c'est Jean-Michel Célestin. Well, bah, notre histoire d'un grand concile nous relais, Concile Général Stéphane Gilles. Stéphane Gilles currently serves as the Consul General of the Republic in Haiti in Miami. Under his jurisdiction, Consul Gilles oversees the largest Haitian diaspora population in the United States, South Florida, and 8 other communities which include Tennessee, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and Louisiana. Appointed in 2014 during the Martelly and Lamotte administration, Consul Gilles remained committed to building international relations and promoting the interests of Haiti on behalf of Haiti current president, His Excellency Jovenel Moïse. As a member of the Consular Corps, Consul Gilles' leadership has helped organize relief efforts during many devastating natural disasters, including hurricanes in the Bahamas and Puerto Rico, and most recently, the volcanic eruption in St. Vincent. Consul Gilles has been advocate for a plethora of local Haitian organizations, which include the Haitian American Nurses Association, the Miami-Dade County Chambers of Commerce, the National Alliance of the Advancement of Haitian Professionals, and the Haitian American Chambers of Commerce. He has also been proud to lead many turnkey drive during Thanksgiving to help those underserved in the community, while being the direct liaison for the diaspora in Haiti as a sponsor of a handful of community-geared events for Haitian and Haitian American of all ages. Born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, Consul Gilles' diplomatic career has been driven by professionalism, as his focus has remained to help the citizens of Haiti who travel, live, and do business in the United States. With Haiti at the forefront of his every effort, Consul Gilles continues to forge ahead as a public servant whose direct assignment is the people. All right, so that's Conseil General Gilles. Please give him a hand.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Well, first off, I don't know if I should go in Creole or English because Sledge threw me off. So if it's for English, I'm gonna go back to my high school days. Can I parler Creole too? All right, I'll do both. But for starters, it's a pleasure for me to be here. Once I got the invite from HHU, I was thrown off. I had other activities, but I made sure that I could accompany the ambassador to be here today. First thing I should say is I'm amazed at the unity that HHU already has, and the way that three guys who got together to put something like this to unify themselves, just so that they can grow and expand in Houston. And I think I would say that they're following the Haitian flag, which says L'Union fait la force. And the more we unite, the stronger we are, and the more we can grow. And my hat goes down to you guys for the work that you guys are doing in this community. They make my job a little bit easier, because the fact that I serve 9 different states, it's a little bit hard for me to reach out to every single person that's in need. But we've been in discussions, and through HHU, we're gonna set a platform where anybody who's in need of any services that we can actually connect through HHU and strengthen the relationships in Houston. So HHU, first off, thank you. This is an engagement that I'm throwing on you guys already. Okay, so pour responsabilité nous. Et ça me sert en d'abord créole, pour responsabilité nous. Okay. So ma Jean dit nous, ma première c'est tout le monde. Et ambassadeur va parler là, va développer un pile sujet avec nous. Donc moi merci invitation nous et continuer mettre tête ensemble, parce que c'est ça que nous avons sorti dans n'importe situation. N'importe problème que nous avons gagné, tout le monde a problème dans la vie, même parce que si nous unissons tête nous, éventuellement nous avons foncé pour nous sortir dans n'importe situation que nous avons gagné. Donc thank you again guys, and I'm going to leave the time for the ambassador who's coming up soon to answer his questions. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Rolanda Charles. I'm the HHU secretary, and I have the privilege of reading the bio and introducing our next guest, which is my lovely HHU president. So Shirley Lano, with over a decade of experience in lead management, working for organizations such as Florida State University in Tallahassee, Shirley was born in Deerfield Beach and offers a unique blend of leadership, vision, and knowledge. She has served in a highly organized educational systems for the past 7 years, where she has advocated for students ensuring their academic success through her unique philosophy of student growth and commitment. Through her leadership, Shirley has been recognized as the top performer and an inspirational teacher of the month. As a community advocate, Shirley has been heavily involved in her community, where she served as a volunteer assistant for Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and as a co-founder of the Global Securities Advancement. Through these platforms, she identifies the causes of social and behavioral factors that affect the performance of the community and finds viable solutions by providing resources that will champion equity. Shirley has also held executive leadership roles in many other organizations. As a project manager at a Florida-based marketing firm, she's demonstrated her ability to improve employee retention by creating new program development initiatives. Shirley holds an executive master's in public administration from Texas Southern University and is still active in Pi Alpha Alpha chapter. She is also a member of the Florida State University CARE Alumni Group, where she received her Bachelor's of Science in Sociology. She is currently the best president of Houston Haitians United, which seeks and succeeds in empowering inner city populations culturally, psychosocially, and aid in overall well-being. Shirley has a keen understanding of the practical barriers the Haitian community faces day to day, such as affordability and language. Her personal mission is to empower her community by providing services and programs to meet not only their physical, but their social, their spiritual, and their psychological needs. It is a blessing and a privilege to introduce Shirley, my president.
Good evening, everyone. Oh, come on, we can do better than that. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Rolanda, for that lovely introduction. Thank you so much. Hello. All right. Well, I have the privilege of introducing our special guest for this evening. Let me get myself situated. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention? The town hall is about to begin. First, I would like to welcome you all to this Houston Town Hall meeting featuring Houston Haitians United and the Embassy to the Republic of Haiti. Before the town hall begins, we got a chance to get to know General Counsel Gilles. Thank you so much for being here. And allow me now to introduce our special guest, Ambassador Edmond. His Excellency Ambassador Boshit Edmond, a distinguished diplomat of 29 years, serves as Ambassador of the Republic of Haiti in the United States and the Charge d'Affaires at the Permanent Mission of Haiti to the OAS. The ambassador started his career as an attaché in 1990 at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In 1993, he was promoted to First Secretary at the very same ministry he led during his tenure at Minister of Foreign Affairs and Worship. Simultaneously, he was the Minister of Tourism and Creative Industries, then counselor in 1996. He later worked as a member of the Presidential Committee, facilitating Haiti's membership at CARICOM, then as a counselor at the Embassy of Haiti in Kingston, Jamaica, from 2001 to 2003. In 2003, he became Chief of Protocol and later was appointed the Charge d'Affaires in Panama, then in Colombia in 2004, a position he held until 2011. In January 2012, he was nominated Deputy Permanent Representative of Haiti to the OAS for 2 years before becoming Permanent Representative in 2014. In 2016, he was transferred to the Haitian Embassy in London as the head of that diplomatic mission until he was appointed as Foreign Affairs Minister in September 2018 and Minister of Tourism and Creative Industries from September 2019, positions held until March 2020. His Excellency Ambassador Boshit Edmond holds a bachelor's degree in legal studies from the State University of Haiti and is a member of the Bar of Port-au-Prince. He also studied at Oxford University in England, where he obtained a master's degree in international relations studies. Ambassador Edmond also holds a second master's degree in international trade arbitration from the Latin American University of International Commerce in Panama and Chile. He attended several seminars on national security and negotiations in 2011 in Israel and on international relations studies in 1996 and 1997. The ambassador speaks Haitian Creole, French, Spanish, and English. So without further ado, let us give a warm welcome to His Excellency Ambassador Boshit Edmond.
If I don't have microphone, I guess everybody can listen to me then. Can hear me? All right. Good afternoon or good evening, all of you. Bonsoir. Frère Maxime you. It's really, first of all, before I start, let me congratulate the team from Bethany Seventh-day Adventist Church. I believe they've done a great job. So let invite you to applaud them. I really enjoy watching them because that brought back some memories when I used to be a Boy Scout. It really reminded me of my days as a young boy. To see those movements, So sometimes you want to be back again as a young man, a young child, but unfortunately, it's impossible. It is really my profound honor to address the Haitian diaspora here and discuss your role as part of a member of the Haitian community abroad. As I always said, our diaspora participe there. You have the same right as every Haitian in Haiti. Sometimes they tend to consider yourself or to see you as only an ATM whenever they need things for wedding, funerals, baptism, or communion, or whatever. But when it comes for you to be involved in what's being done in Haiti, they forget about you. So we always say that the diaspora is not a petit deo, is not a legitimate child. You have the same right as a legitimate child as in Haiti. And this is one of the topics probably I'll be talking to you today when it comes to the new proposed text of the new constitution. Let me say a special thanks to the Houston Haitians United for putting together this meeting. I'm glad to see so many people here. I thought that it would have been less, but I'm glad you're here because that shows the interest you have and what is happening in your own country. I really appreciate that. And I really thank you for being here. And, I'm not here by myself. I'm here not only with the Consul General, but I'm here with some colleagues from the embassy who have accompanied me to be here. And I'm glad that they made the trip with me and to understand, because this is one of the reasons the embassy always wants to do that, because the embassy, even though it's the embassy of Haiti in Washington and the United States, based in Washington, but we are not only there to serve only the peoples in the Washington area, but the embassy is here to serve every Haitian diaspora, every Haitian community all over the United States. Unfortunately, due for some economic reasons, we cannot have consulate in all those big cities, but we do have consulate that covers certain cities. And that's one of the reasons we always trying to be closer to those organizations, closer to the Haitians community. And so we can bring some service, we can bring where we believe, that's a microphone, I'm sorry. That's where we believe we can be useful to you, everything we believe we can do, and we'll make sure that our consulates are there to help and to serve our community, because we are here to serve you, not to serve ourselves, but to serve you. I'm glad really, probably I was in Indianapolis probably, I think it was on Flag Day or before Flag Day, on May 14th. What I saw in Indianapolis, I was really amazed. I didn't know there was such a big community of Haitian community in Indianapolis. And the most interesting thing was the fact of the unity I saw between themselves in Indianapolis. So it made me think that if we could have had that unity in Haiti. So, and here in Houston, I think I see the same thing. I see the Houston Haitian United. I believe this, the way they organize themselves, the way they put things together, and the way I see them working, it seems to me this is the same signal that is being sent and showing that how we together we can do things, we can make things happen. And I really congratulate you for that, for particularly those leaders, those who have continued to work to strengthen this organization. And I think I applaud you for that. You deserve a lot of consideration. And rest assured that the embassy is there for you. And we want to have good relationship with all those organizations like yours. Anytime you believe that the embassy can be useful and you believe that what we can do something together, not only to give you service, but to promote our culture, promote Haiti. Because we are a big country. Not a big country in terms of size, but historically, we are a big country. Sometimes people tend to make you believe that because of the current situation, we no longer have a history. But we cannot erase history. History will always there with you. Sometimes they tend to ignore that, our past, our history, but it is a fact. We are the country that opens the door to freedom. We are the first Black Lives Matter movement because we promote the freedom of Black people. And not only we promote that freedom, but we export that freedom. Remember what we did for Bolivar, for the Latin American countries. Remember we came to Savannah, Georgia to help the US, the American against the British. Remember we are the first country to recognize Greece when they wanted to be an independent country. We sent them coffee, we sent them money, we sent them weapons. We sent them, so we have a great history. But sometimes it saddens me to see that even Haitians, sometimes we don't understand the magnitude of this history we have. The burden we carry, that burden is the fact that we open door for freedom for a lot of Black people. My friends, today we're here to have a conversation, to talk about the future of our own country. The same country I've been mentioning to you that has really paved the way to freedom for a lot of Black countries or Latin American countries. We have a responsibility as a member of the diaspora to be part of this process because you have power. $3 billion to our national economy are coming from you, the diaspora. That's why we always say that you have power. I understand that the way we see Haiti, every Haitian, either in Haiti or here in the United States or in France and Europe and any other country around the world, everyone sees the country differently. But sometimes it seems to me we love it a different way. But the most important thing is it's time to question ourselves and to ask what I can do for my own country, how I can contribute, because we do have a common responsibility. The responsibility is not only to the politicians, but as well to the citizens. And not only the citizens in Haiti, but the citizens around the world, Haitian citizens around the world. Because Haiti belongs to us. That's why I'm sure, the same way it saddens me to see how our country is going down, I believe it saddens you as well. Because you love to bring your child for summer to Haiti to enjoy and to discover their own country, their parents' country. But you still cannot do that for some other reason. But I can tell you that there are very lot of efforts that are being done trying to overturn that thing. But it is not easy because there are so many reasons for that. But I strongly believe that day will come where we have that responsibility to change our country and to make our country more prosperous, more politically stable, and more economically prosperous for all of us. And we cannot do that without the diaspora, with our Haitians and diaspora. I would love to say a lot of things tonight, but I know times is constraint cannot, allow me to say a lot of things. But I will be here to answer your questions. Certainly, we're going to have a good time together. But I'm really pleased to be here in Houston. And I'm really pleased to see how you, Haitians, you are working together. And to help your country, to help your family home, and to continue to contribute to our national economy and represent our culture. Before I end, I just wanted to send a special greeting to Dr. Rodriguez from the Public Affairs, Texas Southern University. Thank you, sir, for being here. I had the honor to visit that university this morning. I think I really enjoyed it. It's a great pleasure. And I'm really happy to know that a lot of Haitian Americans are coming from there. And we are exploring possibilities to see how we can work together and to have more, to see how we can have some, Haitians students, and professionals to come here to perfect themselves. All right, without further ado, and thank you so very much for having me, and for those of you who prepared that beautiful, delicious food. I really enjoy it. I think I really, even though far from Haiti, I had this opportunity to enjoy the Haitian cuisine. And I think one of the things I would ask you to do is trying to see probably the Haitian organization, the Houston Haitian United, will work on to see how we can open a Haitian restaurant here. Because I went to Indianapolis, I must tell you, there are two very great Haitian restaurants. And I really enjoy the food. So hopefully next time, when I come here, I'll make sure that I will see some Haitian restaurant around, and then hopefully I'll be able to eat at them. And it's very important for you, the Haitian community, to organize yourself to, because unity is very important. If you are not united, if there is no unity between you, you are going to be very weak. Because to make sure that our community is stronger, we have to have unity between you. And I want to salute, I want to salute the arrival of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. What a pleasure to have you this afternoon. I really appreciate the fact that you have taken your time to come to see us. I know I don't need Mrs. Jackson Lee doesn't need any presentation because she's a well-known congresswoman, a member of the Black Caucus. Those are very close friends to Haiti and most of the Haitian community. And I'm really honored to be here today and at the same time to meet you and to see you among the Haitian community. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for being here. My friends, thank you so much. And I think I'll be sitting there and then we'll be having that this conversation. But hopefully the organizer will decide if they want to invite the congresswoman to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you. As Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee makes her way, I was actually fortunate to actually be one of her interns. And I have learned so much from the Congresswoman. She supports Haiti. If you did not know, she has actually been to Haiti. She supports, when in 2010, when Haiti experienced an earthquake, Sheila Jackson Lee was there to help. Immigration initiatives as well. So when it comes to supporting Haiti, the Congresswoman is indeed a great support. At this time, let us please stand and welcome the Congresswoman, Sheila Jackson Lee.
Thank you so very much. Thank you to your wonderful Mistress of Ceremonies, Your Excellency, Ambassador Edmund. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. To the diaspora, to the ambassador's assistants, thank you so very much. To the, I want to call them Boys and Girls Club, but not Boys and Girls Scout, but maybe they are, what are they, Pathfinders? They're the Pathfinders. I know the Pathfinders very well. Let's give them a very big hand. They're the Pathfinders in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. They are the Pathfinders. It's a pleasure to be with you. Let me, you always mind your manners, Mr. Ambassador, when you're so graciously introduced my very dear friend. But I have been to Haiti many, many times, going with John Conyers many years ago, going to visit some of the jails on some of the persons that we think were not held properly, meeting with the various heads of state in trying to emphasize the importance of democracy in Haiti, and of course, ensuring and knowing that the Congressional Black Caucus is in the room, and then Haiti is in the room for a number of things, and in particular right now, COVID-19 and the vaccines that are so desperately needed. We are emphasizing the importance of making sure that our neighbors and friends, Haiti, are very much engaged in this process. Let me also say that you know that the president is very supportive of TPS and including Haiti in it, to make sure that you are able to transition from TPS to access to citizenship. So this constitutional meeting regarding the diaspora is crucial. As a citizen of the United States, I can only look from the outside to be able to say, Mr. Ambassador, that this is an important constitutional addition. I'm not here to be able to give the personal response, so I put a quote around it. My personal response is, I'm excited about that, and I think Haiti will be the greater benefit from the idea of the diaspora, which I want to say that Haitians in the nation are of the level, Mr. Ambassador, that I thank Haiti so much for our doctors, our lawyers, our nurses, our first responders, our law enforcement, all in the Haitian community, our business persons, all in the Haitian community. So I will not keep you long other than to say, as I said to my friends who are welcoming me, I came here out of respect. And I wanted you to know that the member of the United States Congress, an officer in the Congressional Black Caucus, and a member of the House leadership as a Chief Deputy Whip. So on behalf of the United States House of Representatives, including the Speaker, including the Majority Leader, and of course the Whip, of which I'm in that operation, and our Chairman of the Democratic Caucus, would like to welcome you to Houston collectively, even though we represent the entire Democratic Caucus, and the Congressional Black Caucus, chair of whom is Joyce Beatty. I serve in the Executive Cabinet, wants to welcome you as well. We will continue to work with the diaspora and Haiti as members of the Congressional Black Caucus. There's not a time when you call on us, Haiti is in need, that the caucus does not stand front and center, defending, advocating, protecting and ensuring that your voices are heard. So thank you so very much. And may I wish the nation of Haiti and in your leadership the opportunity to hear from the diaspora and to find a common ground. I think that's always the best way. We all have disagreements. We are all not in agreement. There are probably people in this room not in agreement, but we don't have to be disagreeable. And the fight should be that we unify around helping the nation of Haiti and the people of Haiti and the people that are Haitian Americans in this nation. That's my fight, and that's the fight I will continue. God bless all of you. God bless Haiti, and God bless the United States of America. Mr. Ambassador, it's a pleasure.
If you still have questions that you would like to be answered, please make sure to give that to our secretary, Rolanda, and we'll do our best to make sure to answer those questions for you. You can just lift up your card, and we'll do our best to address them.
Yeah, thank you so very much. Yeah, stay safe.
All right. Well, once again, Ambassador Edmond and General Consul Gilles, thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. Our first question is actually directed to the ambassador. Yes. Also, I believe we're having another mic as well, so that's coming. We can all assume that being an ambassador is a big responsibility, and there are multiple action items I'm sure you have to complete. However, it's best to hear it from you, Ambassador. What does a typical day look like for you, and what's the most difficult part of being an ambassador?
Thank you so very much for this very important questions. I believe, let me start by the most difficult part. The most difficult part, particularly for me as a career diplomat, because I joined the diplomatic service when I was 22 years old after my law studies. And next August, it's gonna be 30 years of service in the diplomatic service, because I serve in 7 countries. I used to serve in Washington in 2012 to 2016 at the OAS, the Organization of American States. But now, since November 1st, I'm serving as the bilateral ambassador to the United States. I mean, at the same time, I still have the responsibility of the OAS as well. That's why tomorrow, I'm going to Haiti tomorrow, going with OAS delegation that's going to visit Haiti to see how they can help in the current situation. But this is the most difficult part for me, whenever my country is going through so much. And sometimes, as a representative of my country, sometimes you're living the certain situation where you feel powerless. You just cannot do something, or significant, where you believe you could have make things much better, or you could have been more useful to your own country. But my day is sometimes very heavy, because remember I told you that I have 2 responsibilities. I'm not only the ambassador to the Washington, to the White House, but I'm also ambassador to the OAS, the Organization of American States. There are so many things to do. But the most important thing is sometimes I always want to make sure that the interests of my country is being defended, the rights or the interests of my fellow citizens living in the United States are being defended as well. And trying to get connected with the U.S. authorities, to the State Department, which is our main partner for embassies, and also with Congress. And that's why today I'm so pleased to meet Congresswoman Jackson Lee this afternoon here, because the embassy job as well is to work closely with the Congress. Because whenever, Congress is the most important power and the US system, because the executive can decide something, but as long as it's not approved by Congress, the money is not approved, it's not being available to, to materialize what the executive had decided, there's nothing can be done. Therefore, it's very important to lobby Congress to make sure that Congress is on the top of their issue, or whenever there is a bill or it's being considered, trying to make sure that we try to, to get some our interest in it as well. And you cannot do that without Congress members. You have to talk to them. You have to talk to the staffers, and to make sure that all those issues are being addressed. And it's very important as well to say that the congressmen and congresswomen, sometimes they are always very open to listen to our point of views, or to listen to our concerns, and they're always doing their best to make sure that even though we don't get everything we wanted, but to make sure that they listen to us and they understood our points, and to make sure that some of our concerns are being addressed. This is very important, and I think we need to say that the relationship between embassies and Congress are really important, because there are a lot of things embassies cannot achieve for their countries without being very, this is a very intertwined relationship. It's very important to secure it, to foster it, and to make sure that the national interest of our own country is being represented in what they are doing.
All right, so a lot of responsibilities, very heavy schedule. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Well, as you both know, we are currently living in a pandemic, and COVID-19 is still affecting our communities. There have been over 2.95 million cases and over 50,000 deaths. In Haiti specifically, there has been over 14,000 cases and over 300 deaths, Does the government of Haiti have anything set in place to tackle COVID-19?
Yes, I must tell you that in the Western Hemisphere, Haiti, fortunately, was the country with the lowest case and lowest death count. But because very early when the situation came, we took a decision to close the international airports. We took the decision to make sure that we don't have imported cases, and trying to contain the community ones. But it's been successful. But unfortunately, for the last 2 weeks, we just don't understand what went wrong. For the last 2 weeks, we discovered the Brazilian variant, the British variant. Despite those restrictions, because you cannot go as it is for the United States. You cannot go to the United States or to Haiti without proving a PCR negative test. So we just don't understand what happened. But what we realized, seems that because we share the island with another country, there are a lot of people who live there who went to communions, who went to weddings, all those things, and the restriction is not the same at the border as it is at the airport. And we started to have the infection rates going up again. And unfortunately, for the last 2 weeks, we have a lot of high-profile people who died on the COVID area and the COVID affected situation. So now, for the last 2 weeks, it's been very difficult because our health infrastructure is not the best one, as you know, and it's very weak. And most of the hospitals are overwhelmed. They cannot receive more patients. That's why we believe, and I want to take this opportunity to thank the Biden administration, and as well, I believe with the help of Congress, the U.S. administration will be sharing more than 25 million doses of vaccines, and Haiti is one of those countries that have been selected to benefit from it. So I think it's very important to continue to raise awareness, continue to talk to people, for them to continue to respect the sanitary decision measures, so we can see how we can reduce or contain the rate, or the infections rate, and the propagation of this virus. But we had a good start, but unfortunately now, since the last 2 weeks, we've been facing some very challenging situation.
Yeah. And I will add that although there's been over 14,000 cases, there has been over 12,000 that recovered. So
Yes, yes, and
indeed.
almost 300 and something deaths.
Yeah. General Counsel, this question is for you. In regards to the Haitian government, from your point of view, what do you think is the most urgent problem in Haiti which ought to be solved right now?
I think right now the country needs elections. I think that's the priority right now. We have to get a stable elections right now. First off, it's the referendum that we're trying to cover on June 27th, and then we have the 2 other dates for the primary elections. So that's the primary goal right now, and that's causing a lot of tension in the country. And as you could see, there's a lot of obstacles being created. So priority right now, to me, I think it's the elections, and then we can move forward.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that.
Can I add something
Yes.
on that? As the Consul General has said, our country now, it's sad to say that, but our country now is a priority. Everything is priority. But it's very important to understand one of the issues in Haiti, the reason we are facing those very difficult times, because for the last 30 years, 35 years, Haiti has known too much political instability. Listen, as I said before, in August, I'm going to be 30 years of service in the diplomatic service in Haiti. But since I started, I've never known a very peaceful time. I mean, my entire career has been, ups and downs, particularly because of the political instability. We have not been able to enjoy what a country could have enjoyed, and for elected authorities would have been doing for citizens to attract foreign investment, because Haiti is a very virgin country. You're talking about 11 million people as a population, 53% of youth. Would you understand that? 53% of young people. That means the workforce is there. That's one of the reasons, again, since I have Congresswoman Jackson Lee here, Haiti benefited $2 billion from the IDB. It was a special project after the earthquake. But this project is being expired now. We are calling on our international partners to see if we can to renew that project and to have more investment and to create more jobs for the young people. Because once you create more jobs, you create wealth, and the stability will come automatically. But at the same time, we need to work to create that political stability. How can we do that? Through to strengthen the democratic process, because there are two very important points in a country to be prosperous: strengthen the democratic process and respect of human rights. So those are very difficult issues. It's a process. Haiti has been making that experience for the last 35 years, the democracy, but I think it's time to continue to strengthen it through electoral process. That's why we're going to have elections, because we believe elected officials should be replaced by elected officials. So to do that, it has to be elections. The people have the right to decide and to choose their leaders. So as the Congresswoman just said, we can disagree without disagreeable. And a society, the entire country, the entire society will never be on the same page for everything. But at least let us look for the reason, the one thing that can unite us is the prosperity, is the future of this country. And particularly for the youth, for the young Haitians, they need hope. And the hope will come through political stability. When we be able to attract foreign investment, create jobs, and they don't need to leave Haiti to go somewhere else. Because Haiti belongs to them, the future belongs to them. So we need to make sure that we prepare for them and to leave a better country for them.
I'm glad that you both answered that, because that's very helpful. And that's the reason why we're here, to discuss the 2021 Haitian constitutional referendum and elections. Now, the first referendum was in Haiti was back in 1987. And the next one is going to be on June 27th, like the General Counsel mentioned. Like you mentioned, Ambassador, there has been so much events that has happened in between. For example, in 1988, elections were controlled by the military, which resulted in the installation of Leslie Manigat, and eventually he was ousted. Yeah. And then in 2004, political violence occurred that led Aristide to resign. In 2010, Haiti experienced the earthquake, and there's so much more. Why is the gap so long? 1987 to 2021.
Yeah, ironically, this is the longest constitution we have. But unfortunately, this constitution was adopted. That was the first time I exercised the right to vote. I remember in 87, I was 18 years old, and I voted for the constitution. Because after Baby Doc left, there was a sense of trying to seek a better country after the dictatorship, the 29 years of dictatorship. So, but unfortunately, there is a reality. The reality is the constitutions evolves with the context, with the moment, and with the political situation. There is a constant evolution. That's why, for instance, here in the United States, you have amendments, many amendments within your constitution. But our constitution in 1987, remember, after the dictatorship, there were so many emotions. People didn't want to go back to the same thing. Therefore, there was really a willingness to find a way to stop or to put some barriers or to put some lock that will intend to stop the next dictator, to avoid that happen. and there were so many emotions, and they put a lot of things in that constitution. And at the same time, the constitution is static. There's never been any change, and the society is evolving. The political practices are evolving. So there was a first amendment. There was an amendment that was done in 2012, 2011. But unfortunately, we missed that opportunity because the way it should have done, it was not done properly. That's one of the reasons we believe now it's the time to, because let me remind your audience of this. It is not a project of President Moise. We've been talking about constitutional change for the last 15 years. There are so many texts available. There are so many proposals available. And the current independent committee took all those texts and trying to find a better way to have a final text. There is a second version now in circulation being discussed to collect some comments, some corrections, and to have a final text to be available on June 27th. But it is a long process. We understand that the referendum is critical, but the referendum, it is the only way, a very democratic way. Whenever there is an issue, the society is divided upon, the referendum is the only democratic way to decide, because the people will be able to decide to say, okay, there is an issue here, we cannot get agreement, therefore let's go to vote. And the vote is the referendum. And to say, okay, if you are no, let us mobilize the no people to say no, to vote no. If you are yes, let us mobilize the people to vote yes. This is a democratic process, because the president cannot get a constitution text by decree and post to the people. You cannot do that. So even though we disagree, even though there are some disagreement, but at least let us give the people the chance to decide. That's how it does in any democratic society. We cannot use violence to impose your will on people. I think it's, for instance, before I end, the last remarks I wanted to do. I see here in the United States, probably you don't have the referendum, but whenever there is a state, they have a very important issue. There are so many disagreements. What they do on election day, they put this issue on the ballot. And people take the advantage to discuss that and to vote on it and to decide. And the majority said yes, or the majority said no, it has become the law of the land. But this is the same exercise. So I understand people may disagree with that. That's, of course, that's okay. This is democracy.
Interesting fact, referendum is a direct and universal vote which an entire electorate, in this case Haitians, is invited to vote on a particular proposal and can have nationwide or local form. So this can result in adoption of a new policy or a specific law. What are some of the proposed constitutional changes on the referendum? And how do you think those changes will advance Haiti?
I think there is something which is very interesting. Because the country has three branches, as it is in the States: the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judiciary. But at the same time, let me take this opportunity to say that the amendment we have in 2011 took the judiciary out of politics. And the last debate we're having now, a lot of people refuse to mention that. According to the last amendment we have in 11, the judiciary cannot be involved in politics. If a judge is involved in politics, is illegal, you have to get out of the bench of the court, because we want our judges to be impartial. Because once you are in politics, you have party, you cannot be impartial. So those are good practices we want to imitate. We want to copy from here the states, from other countries. But sometimes we tend to forget that. One of the changes, many changes, but let me give you some of them. The first one, the draft proposed to eliminate the post of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is politically appointed, because the Constitution says the party that has the majority within the Parliament will have to name the Prime Minister. But unfortunately, for the last 35 years, I believe that happened once. A party had the majority of the Parliament. But otherwise, the president has to name a Prime Minister. But one of the issues of the Prime Minister, here in the United States, for instance, President is sworn in January the 20th at 12. But once President is sworn in, is in office, the cabinet, the entire cabinet, the entire ministers, what you call secretaries, are there. They're up and running. But in Haiti, the president swears in February 7th, February, March, April, May, sometime June, he still cannot have a prime minister, and he still doesn't have a government. Because the parliament, the practice is, because the president doesn't have the majority within the parliament, he has to negotiate. And when we're talking about negotiate, it means money, corruptions. It is not a good thing. We want to have a parliament who's there to serve the people, the interests of the people, not to serve themselves. And those things, if we eliminate the post of the prime minister, and the president will be able to name his cabinet the same day he swears in office. Because the prime minister is not elected. It's someone the president chose to be prime minister. But you know what? The prime minister has more power than the president who is elected. The president went before the people, requesting the vote. And the people, and Haiti is a presidential country. People always look for the president. Whenever something went back, president. Something's not working out, president. They always forget the prime minister. And the prime minister has more power. So it is not working. It weakens the institutions, because there was always a fight between prime minister and president. There's always a fight between legislative and executive, because the parliament always wants to control the government. They always want to have the prime minister, and there was a constant fight, and the interests of the people are being neglected. The current constitution said the president is a minor. He doesn't have any responsibility. Can you imagine someone who's been in office for 5 years and he cannot be held accountable? He's not responsible for anything. But the new text says the president is no longer a minor. The president has to be held accountable for his actions. For instance, there are so many other things. The diaspora. The diaspora did not have a voice. But the new text said that within the parliament, the diaspora has to have 10% of the representation. Meaning, if the Chamber of Deputies, what you call congressman, has 100 members, 10 has to come from the diaspora. That will be decided through the electoral law. And, there are so many other things. For instance, for the youth, I've been talking about 53% of the population, so youth. According to the new text, at 22 years old, you can be elected for any position. But before the text was 25, now it's 22, because it's a way to involve the youth in politics. Women is 50%, because we need to have our institutions led by women. Therefore, according to the new text, 50% of the government has to be women. So those are a lot of changes. There are many, but those are who come to the top of my mind to tell you. Ben, I'm always inviting you to have a look at the text, because there is an English version to have a better understanding, to read it, and to see what are the differences between the current one and the next one.
Yes, please.
Just like the ambassador said, I think the one problem with the referendum for a lot of people, or the people that are against it, is that it's not even a matter of giving the people a chance to decide or to vote yes or no, because that's your choice. If you don't want it, don't vote for it. You can vote no. But the problem is that it creates a threat for a lot of people. So all these changes, the diaspora is involved, 50% women, a younger generation is coming in. So it creates a threat for a lot of people who are already in politics for that long. Exactly. So in Creole, we have a saying, "Tu bet de morde." So if you're a threat to me, so now I have to find a way to bite you. So, and obviously you could see what's going on in Haiti, all these problems. I saw recently, so many people who were for, back in 2018, for the change in the Constitution. So many people. Today, they're all on the radio saying that you can't have a change in a referendum. So it's a game at the end of the day. Like I said, it's a political fight for power. So it's an honest change. But the people who feel threatened, they're the ones who want to retaliate and bite.
And if you allow me to say something just quickly, in Haiti, the Haitian politics, whenever you are not in power, the one who's in power, everything he's doing is not good. It's against you. But tomorrow, when you become on power, and you will do the same thing I was trying to do, you didn't want, you were denouncing, and this is the same thing you will be doing. Because you didn't want me to do it, and now you become in power, you want to do the same thing you didn't want me to do. That's the way it is in Haiti. I mean, ever since we have elections, how many elections in Haiti were not contested? All of them. But the most important thing is we have leaders elected. We, even here in the United States, the probably that could have portrayed as the best democracy. Elections are not always perfect.
I'm glad that you mentioned elections, because there's been a lot of talk regarding the elections and voting process in Haiti. So can you explain the election and voting process? Who can vote? Where can you vote? How does it all work?
Well, this is a process led by, remember, the government, the executive provide resources, but the main operator of the electoral process is the electoral council. Let me say that again, for instance, with regards to the Constitution. We still have the Provisional Electoral Council, which, according to the Constitution of '87, we were supposed to have only one Provisional Electoral Council, only one. But after that one in '87, we should have a permanent Electoral Council, which we never have after 35 years. So that's to show you how weak institutions have become, because we've never been able to implement, because that constitution has so many obstacles that make it difficult to implement some of the provisions. The electoral process, you have to register. So far, the electoral council has registered more than 4.5 million people. Once you register, you have an electoral card, you have an ID card. That ID card, according to your address, the database will tell you exactly, for instance, if you are from Carrefour, if you are from or Delma, if you are from Kwadebuke, the database will tell you where you have to go to vote. Your polling station will be in your area. For instance, if the election, on the election day, you are in Saint Mark and you registered in Kwadebuke and you were supposed to vote in Kwadebuke, that may happen. The officers of the polling station can certify that your card is correct, and they certify that and to allow you to vote where you are in Saint Mark. And once you vote, the ballots will be counted. Now we want to modernize our system. The issue of after elections, it takes 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month. We still don't have the final results because it's so complicated. But we want to have how we can modernize the system to make sure that we use technology. At the same moment the polling stations are closed, those reports will be sent directly to the database of the Electoral Council, and to make sure we have at least a provisional result by 10 o'clock, by 10 p.m. But I think those are things that we are working on. We want to make sure that this system is much better, is inspired choice, because this is one of the issue of choice in Haiti, because sometimes it's very difficult for people to trust the system and to make sure that, and to believe or to have confidence that the votes are being counted.
Yeah, which brings me to my next question, because during elections, we often hear how the Haitian population lacks confidence in the Haitian government. They feel that their vote is not being counted, or there is political corruption during the elections. What else are the Haitian government doing to ensure that, to instill trust in the Haitian people, that the elections will be free, will be safe, and a fair process?
They always say government, but we always want to clarify that government is not holding elections. Elections are being managed by the Electoral Council. Whenever it comes to results or organizations, those are the ones who manage the system, the structure, not the government. The government only provides resources to the Electoral Council. The Electoral Council manages the elections. But let me tell you something. The choice is not in the government. The choice is, Haitian doesn't trust Haitians anymore. Can you imagine, for instance, on an election day, let us consider one ball where we have 6 candidates for one position, and at the end of the day, after closing the polling station, all 6 candidates come, they said, I'm the winner. This is not the trust in government. This is not the trust in government here. This is an issue of every person, every citizen. Because the issue of losing, we do not accept to lose. Whenever we lose, we always believe that the other one stole my vote. But when you go in town and asking about that leader, no one knows him. And then he expected everybody will have voted for him. Come on. This is not the trust in government. This is a reality. Candidates, Haitians, they have an issue. They don't want to respect the process. They go to elections. Sometimes you get candidates, they go to the polling station with their wife, and the same candidate has 1 vote, meaning the wife didn't vote for him, or the wife voted for him, but he didn't vote for himself. Something happened. Yeah. Because that's why whenever they talk about trust and the government, this is not the government. This is the issue of trust within Haitians. We need to start to understand there is a process, there is a campaign. We campaign, someone has to win. And it's time to accept. If you have some concerns, there is a process. You go to before the electoral council, at tribunal, you come with the arguments, and you come with proof showing this is where I win. And the tribunal will decide if you won or not. But sometimes even after that process, they continue to say that they were the winner, and that caused problems.
I am sure we all can agree that this town hall has been informative thus far. And now we come to the question and answer session from our audience. Earlier, you wrote your questions on paper. Unfortunately, we won't be able to answer all the questions, but we will try our best to go through as much as we can. Jean-Michel, could you please come up for me, please? I guess you can stand at the podium. Our first question is from Mashinda, and she says, I bring you solitary greetings from our chairman, Dr. Malana Karenga, creator of Kwanzaa. Would you please suggest 3 things in order of importance that over organizations and individuals in the US can do to support the Haitian people?
To support the Haitian people, the most important thing is sometimes I don't feel comfortable to talk about those issues. Even though as an ambassador, representative of my country, but sometimes those situations come like, I don't know, it should have, probably the definition of helping should have been very important here, because there are so many ways you can help. But the issue of help here, I'm not so comfortable whenever help here means humanitarian aspect, because I refuse to see my country only as a humanitarian destination. So this is an issue I'm not comfortable talking about. But solidarity is very important between nations, between citizens around the world. For instance, Houston Haitian United as an organization may have a project. They are helping. They want to do something concrete in Haiti. As an organization of somewhere else can say, okay, I want to team up with you and to make sure that these objectives are met. But as me, I don't want to promote help with this idea of humanitarian thing, help and giving me things, because they want to portray us as poor, but we are not poor. We probably have not been able to manage our resources well, but we are not poor. This is one of the reasons this issue is very sensitive to me whenever someone talks me about it, because I don't want you to see me as the ambassador of Haiti, to look at me as a representative of a poor country. No, I'll look at you in the eyes. I say, no, we are not poor. I just don't want people to look at me with a condescending way, meaning that you like with pity. You have pity for me. No. So I don't know. It's probably that definition of help will have needed to respond that.
So thank you to the National Association of Kawada Organizations, Houston chapter. Thank you for your question. Jean-Michel?
Ok, m'a choisi une question ça, on a obligé de tomber dans le créole, parce que actuellement ça c'est en français, ça m'a touché ni français ni créole. Quel est le plan macro pour les prochains 25 ans de notre cher Haïti, si ces plans existent?
Bon, malheureusement, le plan ça n'a pas existé, parce que pour le temps exister, l'important pour un plan comme ça exister, pour nous gagner un accord politique, un accord de gouvernance. Pour de toutes parties mettre ensemble, mettre différents à côté, yo chita, yo discuter, pour toutes parties présenter un plan. un plan de 25 à 30 ans pour Haïti. Quel que soit le parti qui vient du pouvoir, la respecter, car il y a quelques modifications faites, mais le plan était un plan directeur qui l'a comme un guide, bah, dirigeant vous dit, mais côté nous pour aller dans 5 ans. Mais ça nous voulait achieve, mais ça nous voulait faire. Mais malheureusement, on plan 25 ans, un seul parti politique pas préparer. Le parti politique a rien dans le programme, mais là, on parle d'un plan 25 ans pour le pays, il a fait un parti politique. Il suppose un bagage qui suppose sortir en dialogue national, une entente politique, son plan de gouvernance, tout le monde met ensemble, nous mettons différents de côté, parce que c'est un problème haïtien ou bien politicien nous gagnent. Nous refusons de comprendre que nous ne sommes jamais d'accord sur tout. Nous ne sommes jamais la même position sur le bagage. Nous avons un côté quand même divisé, nous avons un côté quand même de façon différente. Mais l'essentiel, même là, nous ne sommes pas d'accord, mais nous avons joué nos côtés, nous sommes d'accord sur lui, à 10%, à 15%. Pendant notre travail à 15 sur 15%, 20%, nous continuons à négocier, reste là pour nous dire comment on peut avancer. C'est un bagage qui est plus important qui manque en Haïti. Nous ne sommes pas prêts pour nous négocier, pour nous mettre, pour nous accepter, pour nous perdre une classe là, pour nous gagner le devant. Si je ne suis pas d'accord avec monsieur qui est président, il faut dévorer le pays jusqu'à ce que moi boute. Mais on va rendre compte qu'on fait mal à 50 combien % de jeunes qui viennent demain. Parce que nous prenons aller quand même, les politiciens aujourd'hui qui là. Nous prenons aller à mourir. Mais jeunes, ça, qui s'en a quitté pour eux? Qui paye n'a quitté pour eux? On plan comme ça, c'est nécessaire. On programme comme ça. Mais malheureusement, il n'y a rien. Il va exister en Haïti.
Ok, merci beaucoup pour la question. Deuxième question, si pas de référendum, est-ce que le président a toujours été sous pouvoir jusqu'à l'autre élection?
Bon, référendum n'est pas en condition pour le président aller ou pas. Référendum, c'est son proposition qu'il a, donc proposition de texte de la Constitution, qui t'a fait promotion pour lui. Ça qui arrivé en fonction de conditions, de situations, tant que Covid, ça arrive en fonction de négociations politiques. Président avec le conseil électoral là, qui est là pour qui principal gestion processus là, il a fait des recommandations à l'exécutif là. Il a dit à l'exécutif là, bon, nous avons telle situation, nous avons tel bagage nous pour près, nous avons dit au moins est-ce que date là n'a ou bien nous avons avancé lui, etc. Mais ça va gagner pour ouais, avec élection. Élection, c'est 19 septembre. Et élection, est obligatoire. Il n'est pas tant qu'on son choix, non, pour faire élection. Ils sont obligations pour faire élection. Parce que, pas oublier, un peu le monde dit, le président dirige le pays, il n'y a pas de décret, parce qu'il n'y a pas un parlement. Eh bien, pour qu'il y ait un parlement, c'est élection. Pour qu'il fasse tout, pour qu'il y ait un parlement. Si on ne pas faire élection, on va tomber dans une situation où il n'y a pas un parlement, puis pire.
Ok. Deuxième question. Il y a 800 haïtiens militaires qui pourraient pour aider. Pour qui ça, le président n'a pas utilisé?
On va parler de l'armée guerre. L'armée d'Haïti qui gagne en brillant. Oui, bon, ça a abrité son décision président, parce que selon la Constitution, le président chef l'armée et la police. Il était une décision entre président et ministère de la Défense, et pour qu'on ait si vous utilisez ou pas. Mais moi, je dire que l'objectif de l'armée, ça, les notables relancés, parce que moi, je me rappelle de l'armée historique, parce que les sorties, dans ça, il y a un document qui a été préparé à Washington, qui est le livre blanc, the White Book. That was prepared with the help of the Organization of American States, OES. They have a structure in Washington qui est le Inter-American Defense Board, which is the armed branch of the OAS. Defense Board, ça, il est là pour les pays membres de l'OEA qui ont un problème de sécurité, infrastructure militaire, etc. Pour faire des recommandations. Eh bien, c'est eux qui chita avec Haïtien pendant 2 ans. On produit ça, le livre blanc, the White Book, qui bat le gouvernement, mais step ABC pour arriver à remettre l'armée à sa place. Et l'armée, ça, c'est pas l'armée tant qu'on l'a monté qu'on est, qui a un tank, qui a un non. C'est tant qu'on National Guard, on a armée qui est là au service de la population. Il y a un désastre, si il y a un flooding là, et ça fait un peu là, c'est ingénieur, il y a un tracteur, il y a tout bagaille. Si il y a un problème dans la zone là, c'est pour aller pour le faire pont, pour ouvrir route qui crasée. Et par exemple, militaires ingénieurs, ça va impliquer la route qui a fait dans la zone nord-ouest. C'est le type de l'armée, ça, on l'armée de service. Et, ça, et l'armée, ça qui là. Mais en même temps, il faut que nous rentrions là dans le tout pour qu'il y ait protection des frontières, pour qu'il protège les frontières. Nous. Mais les tout, ils ont un rôle pour les seconder la police, la police n'est pas capable. La police font face avec un bataille de gang, la police arrive en côté lié affaibli, l'armée a venu d'elle en support. C'est ça. Mais jusqu'à présent, pour avoir une décision pour utiliser, parce que il y a un pile raison pour ça. Mais je pense qu'il y a une décision de sagesse pour qu'on ait comment on avancer avec ça. Ce n'est pas une décision facile.
Ok, nous avons des dernières questions. Pour qui ça Haïti besoin d'une opposition?
Haïti besoin d'opposition pour le bien de la démocratie. Parce que pas qu'une démocratie avec seulement un pouvoir politique. Il faut qu'il y ait une opposition pour qu'il balance. Pour une question, on a dit qu'il y a une opposition progressiste en Haïti. Parce que l'opposition nous gagne là, et il y a un pile faiblesse. Son opposition qui a l'image du pays est totalement divisée. Et son opposition qui n'a pas vraiment un pile alternative pour l'offrir au pays. Parce que sur plusieurs questions, dans toute une société qui a marché, l'opposition, c'est une structure qui là pour qui permette aux gens qui sont au pouvoir de faire plus d'efforts. Parce que l'opposition, ça va venir avec alternative, côté où on est qui sont au pouvoir, pas qu'à avoir résultat. Pour qu'il contrebalancer, qu'on y a pour venir avec une autre offre. Pour les élections arrivées, pour le peuple là qui a dit, ah, mon ça rien à offrir, mon plus bon bagage, puis tout le monde regarde ça offrir, pour voter. Mais l'opposition parle là constamment pour le déstabiliser. C'est pas vraiment l'opposition. L'opposition a des désaccords toujours avec le gouvernement, certes, mais il faut exprimer des accords ça en façon pour permettre aux gens qui sont pouvoir changer de direction. S'il a le mal pour parler mal. C'est ça l'opposition. Et ça fait nous parler d'une opposition progressiste, une opposition qui ouais intérêt pays d'abord au lieu d'intérêt politique.
Merci. Ok, c'est toute question. Pas connaître James, il y a quelques personnes dans l'audience.
You got me, Joe? Okay, so we have a couple of audience questions for you, Ambassador Boki.
Yes.
First question is going to come from Cindy Biasu.
Who? Ah, okay.
Cindy Biasu.
Cindy.
Hi. My first question is, how can Haitian youth, kind of like us, that are like further removed with like parents and grandparents from Haiti, how can we help to support and uplift our country when we're not really, you know, as close, or we don't really know as much as like what's going on?
I think this question, the organization, the Houston Haitian United, has also a great responsibility because they are the one responsible to work with you, to raise your awareness and you know, sharpen your interest into Haiti much more every day. Because I would love to do that, you know, to meet with the youth, but I believe the first responsibility will come to those organizations like HHU, because it's very important for them to design some strategies where they can even invite the embassy or invite the consulate to be part. We can invite people from Haiti to meet with you, to answer your questions, to make you understand the history of your country, so you can see while you are growing up how you can be useful to what's happening in Haiti. But thank you for the question. I'm really happy whenever I see a young Haitian American always trying to involve to make sure that they know, they discover much more about their own countries. because I always said that, you know, you are born here, you are American certainly, but first you're always Asian.
Thank you. I had another question.
Please.
So I said I've always heard, like, you know, when my parents talk or like they talk on the phone with family members, they're always saying "nous pas gain espoir pour pays," you know, like they've given up. What can you say to people here that are like feeling the same way or feeling like the country will never improve?
The first way, before I answer these questions, whenever I hear something like that, it saddens me. It makes me sad. It makes me sad to know that the message that are being given to you, is to let you know that Haiti has no more hope. Therefore, this country will disappear one day, like a piece of ice melting in a pot of water. But I always believe that Haiti will survive. I always believe that. You know why? Because even though our youth, even though some are living because of that same despair we mentioned, but there are youth in Haiti always also believe that Haiti has to survive. Because this country belongs to us. We have a great history, but hopefully one day politicians will be able to understand the magnitude or the amplitude of history, of legacy that our ancestors left. Therefore, I think the time will come when members, when youth, or when any other Haitians will see the necessity, the needs to come together to unite. Because listen, here, United States, the most powerful country on earth now, face very tough time in the Civil War area. Probably they never thought that they would have recovered from the Civil War. The country was so divided, president was assassinated, and so on and so on. But at the end of the day, they came together and to put their strength and to make sure that their country, the United States, stood up again. But I believe that can happen to us. We might face a very tough time today. Sometimes it might look, there is no way out. But I strongly believe there will always be a way out as long as Haitians will be able to understand the legacy that our forefathers left, the cost of that legacy. We just cannot turn our back and forget it and leave it. Because if you leave it, it's a treasure. Someone will pick it up.
That's right. The next question is from Antonio Pierre. Can you raise your hand, please?
Oui, moi, investi près de $50,000 US dans notre side pour voir comment on peut développer une zone sur le point d'agriculture. Mais le plus gros problème que nous confrontons, il faut que nous négocions avec gang. Puisque si nous ne pouvons pas négocier, c'est nous obligés de fermer toute bagaille, comme si que sécurité est stable dans le pays pour nous donner. Qui dernière alternative qui gagne, at least pour le pays capable de sécurité?
Yeah, this is a very common problem. Son bagay pile moun notamment diaspora a subi. Investissement en Haïti, on piece of land for a project, or to build their own house, or pour yo commencer un projet ou gain pour investissement. Soit on vient avec lui dit non, il peut me lier. Ou bien pendant construire, yo font entendre regarder l'autre monde qui venir construire sur lui. Ou du moins, phénomène qui est un là, c'est que son négazam vient dire, ah, t'es ça, et pour moi lié, etc. Ou bien on patron qui veut le soulier, et du soir négocier. là, devant négocier, elle dit que sur des acheter $50,000, pas étonné, ouais, ou on a $50,000 va le encore sur lui. C'est un gros problème, nié. Et nous toujours dit, diaspora, cas par cas, investi, ou bien cas par cas, mettez toute ça en Haïti parce que il manque de sécurité là. Sécurité physique, mais aussi sécurité pour investissement là. C'est responsabilité du gouvernement pour le faire. Et le gouvernement pas qu'à faire avec une police qui est weak. Parce que qui s'arrive? Dans bagaille, ça nous créé les bandits en Haïti. C'est pas un phénomène simple comme ça. Dans toute société qui a la criminalité, qui fait partie de la dynamique sociale, là, normal. Dans toute société, il y a une criminalité. Nous pas une société zéro crime. Ça va pas exister. Mais nous avons un niveau qui arrive en Haïti, puis là, pas seulement simple banditisme. Il y a un pilote barrage là-dedans. Il y a un pilote là-dedans tout, c'est des structures qui sont financées par des drug traffickers. Trafic de drogue qui est là-dedans tout. Parce que le trafic de drogue là, il grandit, leur institution qui est la police, qui est sur l'institution pour la sécurité, il est affaibli. La police qui est là, il est dans le village là, il cherche à résoudre ça, là, il est là, etc. Et ça, drug traffic en rien, période ça, vous le passez à tout à fait. Parce qu'il n'y a pas un contrôle, pas une sécurité. Eh bien, ce qui est important? L'important, c'est l'État pour vivre l'État fort, pour qu'il mette la sécurité en place, pour renforcer la sécurité de la police. Parce que le gouvernement, ça, il fait un peu l'effort avec la police nationale. La police nationale a un budget de 6%, qu'on est passé à 53% du budget national. C'est que la police a un pile moyen pour essayer de équiper. Mais ça, c'est un processus qui est long. Et qui ça fait beaucoup de résultats. Là, même pas, c'est dans les jours à venir, après plus ou moins de résultats, après un nouveau équipement que la police a recevoir, etc. Mais en même temps, problème banditisme là tout, bon bagage qui est important qu'il y a avec lui, c'est disparité économique. La société a gagné trop écart entre les gens qui gagnent l'argent et les gens qui ne gagnent pas. Au un pays, côté où je monde la vie, une vie totalement luxueuse, qui gagne pile bien, pendant ce temps, tout près à un monde qui ne va pas manger. Et que le fait qu'il y ait une disparité sociale, ça, économique, ça, il y a pas un autre bagage, il provoqué banditisme. Parce que, plus gros problème dignité, on est, c'est de lever la cale comme garçon, il va pas manger. C'est que nèg ça faut gagner un peu de courage, un peu de dignité pour ne pas faire ça par ça. Parce que pour un petit on a pris devant les deux grands gros, on pas l'argent pour le manger. Après nèg ça aller joindre un drug dealer ou bien nous joindre un gros patron donc qui offre pour la faire un sac pour le bail si monde manger. Ça demande un peu de courage pour pas impliquer là-dedans. C'est que problème économique ça disparité ça faut résoudre dans la société. Toute la société a gain tout gap ça, toute gros disparité ça il crée un problème. Il vient créer un problème de sécurité tout. Ça la sécurité a gain plusieurs raisons qui fait là. Il pas un bagage seulement les politiques tout, les économiques, mais les aussi social. Mais dans le cas pour là, et je pense que l'on l'État qui est fort, ou bien comme vous investissez, ou bien papier qui est légal, qui est normal, l'État est supposé protéger l'investissement là. L'État, moyen pour protéger l'investissement là, c'est avec la force publique. Et on dit ça, qu'on est les forces publiques là, il connaît des armées, il connaît le Gamorito. C'est ça, tout en c'est nous là pour nous renforcer l'État. Faut l'État vienne plus fort. Côté nous faire monde respecter la loi, monde respecter principe. C'est un plus gros problème nous gagnons là, parce que n'importe quel quartier, il dirige le bandit, il contrôle le quartier, après il prend plus le temps pour la police mettre le dehors. Parce que c'est un gros problème lié. Et pour l'instant, quoi la travail pour laisser dans quelle mesure pour résoudre le problème ça et pour contrôler la situation ça.
OK. Nous avons deux dernières questions. Monsieur Fanel Joseph.
Merci. Salut tout le monde. Monsieur ambassadeur, nous saluons. Et côté que je vais poser aux questions, c'est un plaisir parce que vous représentez le gouvernement haïtien directement qui est là. Et dans tout parler que vous parlez, je vais poser des questions. C'est comme si vous parlez de réalité, comme si des témoignages. Mais en tant que représentant gouvernement qui gagne presque 4 ans sous pouvoir, c'est comme si je pas ouais un point de résolution. En première question pour moi après-midi, il y a presque 4 jours depuis gang Tibois à Grand Ravine à Goumé et tout le monde zone Matissan, c'est l'autre côté au aller en dehors et puis le gouvernement parlait des référendums le 27 janvier, juin, excusez-moi. Si toutefois, gang a goumé, moun ap mouri, jodi a gantan 5 juin, 27 janvier, c'est presque arrivé. 20 juin, excusez-moi. Et gouvernement pas même qu'à mettre en stabilité côté des gangs ça y a mouri. Est-ce que ou même qui présent là après-midi qui représente le gouvernement haïtien, qui confiance nous qu'a fait peuple là, côté que toute opposition dit comme ça, il pral touyer mon jour élection et nous est vraiment vrai, pas rien qui fait dans tout ça qui passé actuellement avec gang, qui confiance nous mettez dans peuple là pour le cas déplacer pour aller voter le 27 juin.
Bon, vous avez l'autre question?
Ah,
mais allez, en deuxième.
Ok, dans la deuxième, je vais tout poser, je connais dans la tête. Ok, last question. Dans l'introduction, vous avez parlé de 2 bagages de développement dans le pays. C'était vous avez mentionné en démocratie, vous avez mentionné en human rights, which is true. Dans le cas Haïti, dans le pays, côté que le gouvernement qui passait, et puis, le gouvernement dans tout, qui n'a pas aucun plan de plan et de sécurité nationale. Est-ce que vous pensez Haïti qui a développé, si pas un plan de sécurité nationale, côté que nous pour nous inviter entrepreneurs internationaux à venir investir, si que nous-mêmes pas confiance pour de sécurité qui a fait bien moun sa yo pas perdu et puis vie moun sa yo pas perdu. Merci. Monsieur l'ambassadeur.
Merci beaucoup, mon frère et compatriote. Bon, c'est vous poser 2 belles questions et qui assez pertinentes. Et question sur ça a passé Matissan depuis 4 jours qui se bataille entre gang rivaux. Et je pense qu'il y a un problème sérieux parce qu'il y a près de combien de départements qui bloquent là, Grandance, Sud, Sud-Est. NIP, près de 4 départements qui bloquaient. Mais il y a un pas connaît que je parlé dans une conversation personnelle avec le directeur général de la police, parce qu'il y a travaillé sur ça, réfléchi pour qui j'ai un peu. Parce que ça arrive. Pour une situation, côté, où un groupe de nègres qui a un gros arme dans la main, vous attendez? Moi, je ne vais pas attendre, vous posez des questions, vous attendez. Et où une situation, côté, on a une équipe qui a une équipe gros armes de guerre dans la main, qui l'a mis en population civile, qu'on y a là, ou une situation où on parle d'intervention de la police qui est armée, qui va laisser protéger la population civile là, et en même temps, au niveau de dommages collatéraux qui va être tellement élevé, en termes de monde civil qui va mourir dans la ça. L'important pour la police faire des actions, mais action police très souvent, il can demander un pile calcul pour éviter le maximum de dommages possibles. Parce que, par exemple, par ce sont les actes passés au village de Dieu. Les policiers ont été morts. Il y a des gens qui disent, oh oui, puis on a choisi de rentrer immédiatement pour aller prendre un cadavre policier, etc. Oui, d'accord. Mais on imagine combien de monde civil en tant que tu mourir ça. C'est que parfois, on a une décision qui est difficile pour prendre. Il peut venir fort prendre lui, mais le cas difficile, mais on va prendre tout. Il faut admettre tout, il faut peser conséquences, il n'y a rien de décision qu'on va prendre. Parce que diriger, on l'État, on paye tant qu'on va dire, on va être facile. Non? Parce que, ouais, je dis là, la responsabilité que la police a gagnée, c'est normal. Et l'État paye les policiers, la police est là pour la sécurité. Mais en même temps, la police, il mène une opération pour aller capter ça, 50 moun, 60 moun mouri, on y a dit son massacre police a fait. En même temps, une responsabilité de la police pour mettre sécurité ça, pour créer un environnement, pour permettre de débloquer route pour tout le monde passer. C'est rôle de la police dans le pays. Mais après 12 ans encore, bandits et pas un revolver la main. C'est des gens qui ont des armes, par côté des armes à sortir. Parce que les bandits n'ont pas de travail. Quelque part, il y a un monde qui va aux armes. So, pour me dire comme ça que ce n'est pas facile, la police a une responsabilité pour la mettre l'ordre, pour la chercher créer route, pour les passer, pour laisser rentrer, prendre contrôle de la situation, même qu'on ça a un prix. Et lorsqu'on décideur, on prend une décision, il faut qu'on ait une décision, il faut prendre, mais elle a une conséquence. Parce que la population civile, là, il faut permettre de vivre, il faut permettre de passer. Et les gens qui sont dans la zone, il faut protéger. Et on fait une série de bandits qui ne parlent ni foi ni loi. C'est que c'est vraiment difficile comme décision. Même d'accord que faut qu'il y ait une intervention de l'État pour établir l'ordre. Même l'air qui ont pris. L'autre question déposée, c'est la question de sécurité. Je dis tout ça. Sécurité, on ne peut pas avoir un investissement étranger en Haïti si on n'a pas stabilité politique. Si chaque coup, pour faire élection, on fait une élection, on président après c'est transition, après c'est folle, il faut aller, etc. Ou pas besoin, parce que l'investisseur étranger, il a besoin de vivre dans un environnement qui est stable, qui est sécurisé, pour lui mettre l'argent. Mais tout le temps, on ne peut pas avoir un environnement, on ne peut pas avoir un investissement étranger. Vous comprenez qui problème il va gagner? Plus pauvreté, chômage, monnaie nationale a perdu valeur davantage. Et on va gagner ça long exode, tout le monde va le dégager, à payer des points, voyager à l'autre côté, etc. On va gagner plus de problèmes. Je pense que les est important pour nous-mêmes haïtiens, politiciens, pour nous chita, pour nous mettre tête nous ensemble, pour nous joindre un accord, pour nous dire pays ça a souffert trop, on met sacrifice, on fait des sacrifices, on met intérêt personnel nous à côté, on va payer en chance, on nous chita ensemble. Même là nous pas d'accord, mais on joue nous côté nous d'accord pour nous avancer. Parce que nous ne sommes jamais d'accord sur le même bagage tout le temps. Il y a toujours des accords, mais c'est important. Nous chitons ensemble, nous jouons nos portes de sortie, nous jouons nos solutions pour nous avancer plus devant. Quand tu chantes, l'homme des petits, quand tu chantes un peu, on a quitté les coupés cloués. Il y a deux qui chantent avec deux, entendre pour entendre.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the town hall. Special thanks again to Ambassador Edmond and General Counsel Gills. Thank you so much for being here. Pardon? Okay. Thank you all for attending. A special thanks to all of our viewers who are watching us online. Thank you so much. Special thanks to Stages. Yeah. Your support is immeasurable, and we are forever grateful for your hospitality. To our diplomats, we thank you. Our community leaders and members, our HHU members, we thank you. Dr. Rodriguez, Pastor William, Haitian Bethany SDA, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to the Congresswoman, Sheila Jackson-Lee. Thank you for your support. Also, thank you to the National Association of Kawanda Organization. Thank you for, pardon? Kawaida. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. For our police officers for keeping us safe, our distinguished guests and participants, we thank you for your active participation. At this time, Houston Haitians United would like to say thank you to Ambassador Edmond and his and General Counsel Gills for joining us on this momentous occasion. So at this time, I would like to invite the Board of Directors and also the Executive Board to the front for this special presentation.
À cause du référendum, nouveau constitution, grand-père moi voulait connaître.
Bon, lui, ou même qui à l'école, dis-moi ça qui pi bon, nouveau constitution, hein, ou soit constitution qui là. Moi, je voulais connaître.
Lui, t'es relève, pour m'aider à comprendre les différences qui gagnent entre nouveau constitution et ancien. Nous jouons plusieurs grosses différences. Grâce à la nouvelle constitution, mesdames, nous avons travaillé même gens à conseiller dans le poste électif. Intégration totale capitale pour la jeunesse à partir de 25 ans.
Mais la constitution nous gagne.
Non, nous ne sommes pas capables. La constitution qui est là, il y a même gens. Grâce à la nouvelle constitution,
certificate of recognition and recognition of your service to the Republic of Haiti and to the support of the Houston diaspora through Houston Haitians United on this day, June 5th, 2021, His Excellency Rochit Edmond.
It's been a long time I haven't received a certificate.
Team, at this time, can we just take some quick photos? Just some quick pictures, please. Rolanda, if you can hear me, please
à
make your
cause
way
du
to the
référendum,
front.
nouveau constitution, grand-père moi voulait connaître.
Bon, lui, ou même qui à l'école, dis-moi ça qui pi bon, nouveau constitution, hein, ou soit constitution qui là. Moi, je voulais connaître.
Lui, t'es relève, pour m'aider à comprendre les différences qui gagnent entre nouveau constitution et ancien. Nous jouons plusieurs grosses différences. Grâce à la nouvelle constitution, mesdames, nous avons travaillé même gens à conseiller dans le poste électif. Intégration totale capitale pour la jeunesse à partir de 25 ans.
Mais la constitution nous gagne.
Non.
So you can tell others about us as you travel.
Grâce à la nouvelle constitution, a bien un conseil électoral permanent. Travailler, c'est à organiser l'élection de façon qui est rapide et efficace.
Et ancienne constitution.
Non, lui. Nous ne sommes pas capables. La constitution qui est là, bagaille après même genre. Grâce à la nouvelle constitution, nous avons bien un coup constitutionnel qui a veillé sur la légitimité royale et l'application.
Bon, si ça va faire sens pour ça continuer. Parce que avantage de la nouvelle constitution, il y a un pile et au clé. Merci, professeur. Je parle pour me prendre grand-père. Grand-père!
On casse chaîne, Jeune 2021, référendum pour une nouvelle constitution. Équipe communication, projet nouvelle constitution.
À cause du référendum.
Compère Charles, ou partant de nouvelles là?
Qui nouvelle ça ma commère?
Ou partant de dans dernier jour ça yo? C'est une question de référendum pour une autre constitution.
Ah, moi tant de paroles ça a parler en pile oui. Moi apprendre nouvelle constitution ça pour permettre nous-mêmes qui c'est diaspora haïtien intégrer tout bon vrai dans affaires pays nous. Côté n'a bien droit voter et participer dans élection soit comme électeur, soit comme candidat. Même gens avec tout compatriotes nous qui en Haïti.
Oui, c'est ça même mon compère. Mais pour ça fait, faut que nous disions oui nous d'accord avec nouveau constitution ça.
Comment nous capable faire ça?
Tendez bien mon compère. C'est 27 juin qu'a venir là, dans un référendum nous pral voter pour nous dire oui nous d'accord et nous voulons porter coller dans tout niveau, nous prend gros ak bon décision pour nous changer pays.
Moi apprendre tout ma commet, ONI qui c'est Office national identification à travers consulat yo a facilité chaque grain citoyen haïtien qui dans diaspora fait 4 identification yo. Non seulement qui pral permettre yo voter, faire au soir renouveler passeport yo, mais tout pour yo régler toute transaction yo les yo aller en Haïti. En tout cas dans ce sens ça, moi pral porter coller.
Nouveau constitution ça, c'est pour vous, c'est pour moi, c'est pour nous toutes. Dans référendum 27 juin ça, nous même diaspora, nous pral montrer ça.
C'était un message ambassade d'Haïti à Washington à consulat côté Waptandel là.
Haïtien à nous